Let's talk about going from Sean Dyche as your manager to Mauricio Pochettino as your manager.
Yeah.
First impressions.
Shock. Big shock, if I'm honest with you. Went on holiday to Cancun, come back thinking I was in good nick. Next minute, I'm in the Fat Club.
Is that
and then
right?
I was in the altitude chamber, yeah. There was a couple of us, and I thought I was, my weight was good, and then, no. I was straight in the chamber after every session, and that's when I knew, this is different.
And who delivered that news to you?
It was Jesus, his assistant manager.
Yeah, Jesus Perez, yeah.
Yeah, so that was probably the first week with just looking at, the longer I got there, just looking at how all the other players conducting themselves, really. We had obviously Lloris, Harry Kane at the time, and Jan Vertonghen and Toby. So it was a shock, really. Yeah.
Right, so this is interesting. What is it that those players are doing that you maybe hadn't seen in your career? And that's not to say that the guys you were playing with before weren't professionals, but this is the elite level now.
Yeah, I think what time they're in. When I arrived, they already finished the gym, for example, certainly Harry. What they was eating off the field, as I was there longer, I got really close to a few of them and what they was doing off the field. And yeah, that was a shock for me personally because of where I came from, the culture that I came from, and to the new culture at Tottenham.
And obviously you've come from Burnley, right? So, you hadn't signed from Man United or Real Madrid. You weren't coming in as a guaranteed starter necessarily. Can you give us an insight into how you carried yourself, conducted yourself, how you trained in that first training session, how you chose to speak to those other players on the first day?
Yeah, well, I was close with Walks. I knew him from the youth setup with England, so he really took care of me there. But I think it was just enjoy yourself, and embrace it, try and do as well as you can. Going back, I know I weren't going to be first choice, but it was just like conducting myself in the right way and just learning, really, because I was about 25 at the time, I think I was. But yeah, just learning off the other players with how they prepare for training and just everything on and off the field, really.
And was there one thing you saw from another player where you thought, that I'd never even thought about that I'm adopting that now, that's how I'm going to operate day to day?
I think I can only speak on Harry Kane's behalf, really, because he's probably one of the most professional players I play with, if I'm honest. And just the way he is from when he arrives through the building to going in the gym, doing extras, again, eating the right things and the recovering. And yeah, I used to watch him a lot when I was there because obviously it was Harry Kane, weren't it? So,
was he captain at the time?
No, Lloris was captain.
How would Harry deliver news to you if he didn't think you were pulling your weight or playing well enough?
Yeah.
And how would he do that?
He'd pull you to one side, maybe, not in like an aggressive way. He was just trying to help, because he wanted the best. He wanted everyone to train the best possible way, really. So he would do it in a good way. H is a good guy.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because we've only spoken to one guest on high performance who said to us there's a difference between high performance and elite performance. And it feels like you've gone from a high performing environment to an elite environment. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. Because obviously playing at Tottenham was the elite. You was playing. I was in the Europa League at the time, and then obviously the Champions League. So you're playing with fully internationals. I weren't playing with internationals at Burnley. I think, when internationals used to go off, I think there was only 5 of us at Tottenham's training ground training with the young lads. So that says everything about the different mindset and the challenges that I had to overcome, really.
Well, when we interviewed Mauricio, he spoke about the message that John McDermott had given him about in any culture, you've got that FIFO effect. You either fit in or you fuck off. And he said that was very much his mindset of what he had. So I'm interested that you've come from Burnley. How much of it is being explicit that you're being inducted into it of Kieran, you need to be in at this time, you need to be eating this food, and how much of it is just you're expected to either wise up yourself or we'll just find a way, we'll get someone to replace you? Yeah,
of course, it has to come from in yourself to be in on time. You can't be late, because Pochettino was mad on that if you was late. And he would know as well. So if you tried to walk in and you was late and you said you was on time, you have people ticking you off every time you come in, what time you arrived in.
And why was that significant?
I just think, there's no reason to be late. personally. Being on time. If you have to be in for 9:30, you have to be in for 9:30. You have to eat breakfast and then get ready to train at the right times. So you have to be in pre-activation at a certain time. Training if you had to do extras after training, you have to be there at a certain time. So he was proper. He was strict, but in a good way.
Can we talk about energia universal, as he describes it, universal energy, this belief he has that everyone carries an energy about them, and he can feel the energy either by having his hand on you or holding onto your hand or your shoulder or something like that. Do you remember that first time you sort of realised how him and Jesus operate?
Yeah, there was times when, you shake his hand and stuff like that. And there was one moment where I just got carried away and somebody said something, I think, and then he squeezed my hand and looked me in the eyes. That's when I really shit myself, really. When I first met, I thought, right, then I knew then that moment as well, this is real. So, but no, they're great guys, to be fair, and there was a massive part in my next chapter of my career as well.
But when they're doing that and they're saying like, right, you need to shake us in your eyes, like you think of someone like Glenn Hoddle, when he was employing Eileen Drury at the time, and people made lots of fun about this faith healing and regarded it as being a little bit out there. And yet now you've got a manager talking about positive universal energy. What's your reaction to that?
I don't know, really. I think for me, it's, when he did grab my hand and went, no, look me in the eyes and squeezed in my hand and stuff. Yeah, I was more like a little bit taken back, really, if I'm honest. But, people operate in different ways, and obviously the manager, Jesus, and their staff certainly operated in a different way. But if they believe in that and that works for them, then they need to bounce that off everyone else in the squad, really.
But did anyone ask him, like, what does this mean and how do we get more of it?
Not really, to be honest with you. If I'm going to be honest, no, not really. To me, I didn't really notice it much, to be honest.
Right.
He told us that he used to sit there and watch the players walk in the mornings, and he would sort of gauge just by looking at you. He would say to us, I could tell whether they've slept well, had an argument with their partner, and if I felt they weren't right, I would tell them, you're not training today.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because, it's like he knew everything about it. It's like he had cameras everywhere. He just knew if he was, I don't know, he didn't sleep well, or he'll just know if you're in a bad mood. And again, he was a good man manager. He knew when to pull you in, when not to, when to speak to you, when not to speak to you. So, but yeah, it was like a magician at times.
It's interesting that, isn't it? It's that ability to kind of relate to people. There's two very distinct jobs in a football manager's locker. They have to be able to do the tactics and do the substitutions and work out how the opposition are going to play and counter them. But then there's a whole other side to the game, I think, that we don't understand, which is this.
Yeah, and definitely, especially when that's why it's so difficult, I think, to be a manager where, like you said, the tactical on the pitch, the starting 11, but most importantly, the players who are not playing. Because that's difficult, because I went for a long time when I didn't even play. Maybe my first season I played about 4 games, I think.
How was that?
No, it was tough. Of course it was, but I knew it was going to be, because Walks was flying. I knew I weren't going to be number one right back. But yeah, I just had to keep my head down, because this was my first season at the elite, training with the elite facilities, and get myself in proper good shape, especially the way he played, the manager, because it was relentless.